Hello and welcome to the Classic Motorcycle channel. My name is Jordan Gibbons and I'm the Communications Manager for Norton Motorcycles, and I'm going to give you a quick whip round our stand in case you haven't been able to make it here, or you're still going to come and you can see everything we've got on display, whether you're familiar with our bikes or not. So I think it makes the most sense to start right here with probably the most famous name at Norton, maybe even the most famous name in motorcycling, the Norton Commando. So this is the 961 SP. So we do two variations of Commando. We do the Cafe Racer, and we'll go point one of those out in a minute. And we do the SP, the Sport. And the thing that makes them different is the Sport has got flat, high-up handlebars, and the Cafe Racer has got low-down clip-ons. That might sound like a really minor change, but it makes a very, very different type of motorcycle. And I'll talk about that maybe when we get around to the Cafe Races, if we can battle out the way of all these people. So the Commando is a sort of a classic name in Norton. It goes all the way back to the 70s. It won 5 or 6 Bike of the Year awards from Motorcycle News way back when. And it was the thing that sort of, apart from the Manx, really made a name for Norton. It had a big engine, it had a lovely frame, and it just sort of offered that sort of power and handling that people weren't used to at the time. And we think the new bike offers an inspiration of that. It's not quite the same, it's a very new thing. To describe it in my own little way, I describe these as basically like a brand new classic motorcycle. It kind of looks like a classic bike, it feels a bit like a classic bike, but it doesn't drip oil out and it starts every time you come up to it. One of the things we're really proud of the Commando, and we'll explore that when we go look around an engine in the stand in a minute, is that almost every single bit of it is handmade right at our HQ in Solihull. So you can change quite a lot about the bike. So the one we're looking at here is pretty much a bone stocker, which is 16999 or thereabouts. And that comes in black with the pinstripe. It's got silver wheels, it's got a light polished case, it's black engine, it's got the seat cowl, all the rest of it. But there are loads of things you can change about the bike. So if we start all the way at the front, you could have black wheels instead of silver wheels. You can have blacked out components or silver components. You can have a silver engine or a black engine like we've got here. You can have the bike in silver or black with or without a pinstripe. You can have a pillion seat. You can have the seat hump. You can have the Norton logo stitched on there or not. You can have a medium polish like we've got here. You can have a proper shimmering like polish, like a mirror polish, or you can have a very, very light grade of polish. So there's loads of different options so you can standardize the bike how you want it. This is pretty much our standard one. This is what 99% of people just buy, and that's the one that we hold in stock in dealerships. Next to it, we have something, again, really, really special. So this is our V4CR, V4 Cafe Racer. And that is basically a stripped down, naked version of our V4 Superbike, which is based on the Isle of Man TT Racer. And yeah, it's a superbike without a screen on it, basically. That's pretty much as it is. It's a little bit more, we think of it as sort of the rebellious younger brother of the Superbike. So it's got a shortened seat to it, a smaller subframe. It's got a bright orange seat, so it's got a bit more pizzazz. There's no screen. There's a little bit of a little windshield, but that's it. The differences between this and maybe a Commando is, you know, a Commando is 80 horsepower, this is 160 horsepower. Commando is a steel frame, this is an aluminium frame. That's a parallel twin, this is a V4. That's made of, poly carbonate bodywork. This is full carbon fiber bodywork. In fact, we'll flick one around here, but almost every single bit of it is carbon fiber. Like that bit, even the petrol tank. And you can have it, every single bit, even oh my knees, even the wheels are carbon fiber. Oh God. Sorry about that noise, hopefully I'll never make that ever again. So as I said, we're super proud of one of the things that makes Norton, which is how handmade everything is. So this is a Commando engine which lives at our HQ. This is a training engine for mechanics. But if you were to come to the Norton factory, you would see this being hand assembled there. You would see the valve springs being put in the engine, you see the camshafts being put in, the barrels dropped on, the spark plugs put in, every little bit of it. It comes in as just cases. And then when you come to the factory, you can see it goes through this giant, basically a giant washing machine. Everything gets cleaned, and then bit by bit, it all gets assembled by proper trained technicians. But it's an amazing process. When you see it, It's all computerized, and God help us, me, you at home, any of us could go into that room, and as long as we followed the instructions, we could completely assemble a motorcycle engine. I wouldn't want to use that motorcycle engine, I'm sure you wouldn't either. So that's why we have proper people who do it. But the idea is it's meant to minimize the amount of mistakes and ensure that we have a consistency of a build throughout it. And it makes a really big difference. It means that we can track every little bit of our bikes. So if there was a problem in future, something got found for the line, we shouldn't even get that far, but we can trace it back and then we don't have any issues, like ongoing issues. But if we go further into the stand, we'll pass by some lovely Norton head and helmets here. I can't say too much about this, but all I'll say is watch this space. So this is the V4 SV. So that's the superbike. So this is the fared-in version of the V4 Cafe Racer I was showing you earlier. So we describe this as like the ultimate road-going superbike. It was come off the back of a V4 motorcycle race bike that was built for the Isle of Man TT, and some of those things have come through to this, but we've down-tuned it and made it more to suit the road. So the way the power is delivered, the power modes, the suspension setup, the chassis is not quite as stiff because you don't need all that sort of performance. But you know, it is aimed as being the ultimate road-going sports bike. And tuned for British roads, because we all know really that a British road is basically like driving through Flanders. What if we continue exploring the rest of the stand? Perfect, a Cafe Racer. So as I said, there's two variants of the Norton Commando. We've got the SP, which we looked at, and the Cafe Racer. The chief difference is the Cafe Racer's got clip-on bars. I think a lot of people are a bit nervous that that'll be a really extreme riding position. It isn't. When I first joined Norton, I rode on to Wales, around Wales and back, and it was one of the most amazing experiences. Just this really brilliant introduction to the Commando. I can still remember now, as I was coming out of Merthyr, and I came up this dual carriageway, and the sun was just dipping behind the hills, and I came into this roundabout, and I was just grabbing gears, like, gah, gah. Oh, brilliant. The amazing thing about the Cafe Racer, even more so over the SP, is that it's a very, very direct steering position. You're naturally leaning a bit more forward. You're physically closer to the axle. You have more of a direct connection to it. More of your weight is on the front wheel. So even though it seems like what might be a very small change, it does have a really big difference based on how it rides. And also, let's be real, it looks cool as well. And then I tell you what. Obviously we just sell merch. Please go online, shop.nortonmotorcycles.com, buy some merch, etc., etc. Here we have two sort of really classic icons from Norton history. So we've got here an original 750 Commando, which is one of the award winners, is where the name comes from, in this amazing Idaho yellow, I think they call it. It's just like the bike. Here we go, we're throwing back here. Very early Keanu Reeves film called My Own Private Idaho. It was Keanu and I think River Phoenix. Maybe I've misremembered that. But it's one where the sort of Keanu Reeves-Norton relationship started. This isn't that bike from the film. I wish it was. If it was, it wouldn't be here. It'd be locked up in a vault somewhere. But a really beautiful example of Norton. And one of the really iconic things is the road holder forks. And then next to it, we have this, which is a JPS branded Norton F1. Norton has a long history with rotary bikes, and it started in the 80s with the early air-cooled ones, and then it moved into the water-cooled ones, and that's where Norton's later racing success came, most famously in 1992 at the Isle of Man TT with the White Charger. But this is the kind of one of the most iconic ones. They only made them for 1 year, 1990 to 1991. They never sold in huge volumes because, as much as it pains me to admit it, they were a bit rubbish. Everything else was cheaper or faster. But it's about as iconic as it gets. And what else is cooler than something that's made to look like a packet of fags? All right, so we've come around. So this is another V4 SV, and I've just had a bit of fun with it, and we can make fun of all these people here. So one of the things the V4 SV has a little camera under the seat unit just here, and then you can spy on people in the dash just there. So look, we can see and we can see unfortunate pictures of people's sort of guts. Ian doesn't look like that normally. He'll be really angry about me for that. But if we run over, there's a nice little fun bit of the stand just over here. I'm going to let myself into it, such is my prerogative. Are you coming in? Yeah. So what we've got here is one of our 125-year special editions which we produced last year. This is the Transatlantic, so it's after those sort of Peter Williams Transatlantic Series racers. But this is here in a little area that looks a lot like our end-of-line inspection at Norton. So whenever a motorcycle comes off the production line, it goes through end-of-line, and it's a huge tunnel with all these giant light bars in it. And there's a chap called Ray who's basically the world's fussiest customer, and Ray goes over every single motorcycle and checks every little bit of it to make sure there's no marks, there's no defects, there's something that shouldn't be wrong. And we have a little makeup version of that, and if you pop yourself along to the show, you can come on, sit on it. I'm not going to jump on it, my jeans are far too tight, and it'll take a little picture of you, and you can in this nice little photo booth. So please do make your way along to Motorcycle Live. We're here all week. We're in Hall 3, at the sort of intersection between Hall 3 and 2, just on the corner. Come check out our bikes.